I'd like to give a special shout out to historian Vance Pollock, who helped us out on our Ghost of Helen's Bridge episode. Vance hails out of Asheville, North Carolina. It takes a lot to make a podcast happen. You can support the show at linktree.com/ATU podcast. There you can support us on Venmo, PayPal, you can book us on Cameo, and you can find our merch and swag. Go straight to our merch and swag at unexplainedswag.com.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
Prior to your abduction, did you believe in UFOs?
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, will save for closed session.
Welcome, Unexplained Minds. It's Dr. Mounts. I'm here with CJ Derringer tonight.
Hooray! Big night. It's a big deal.
Yes, it is. We thought you might want to know. We've teamed up with Audible. You can download books for free, like Somewhere in the Skies by Ryan Sprague. Just visit audibletrial.com/UFO. You can even download my book that I narrate, Killer Kudzu. CJ didn't like it at first, but it did grow on her. So that's audibletrial.com/
That's a good kudzu joke right there.
UFO.
Classic.
Thanks.
Kudzu joke. Yeah, thank goodness for Audible. I was one of those people that did not want to listen to a book on tape. I was like, no, I love the feel of holding a book in my hands and turning the pages. No, forget it. I need to listen to books. If I'm going to read a book at all, I'm going to have to listen to it because I don't have time to sit down and read a book anymore.
I know it's to the point now I can't process not hearing it. Reading it with my eyes, I just can't process it.
Yeah.
I was at the pool for a little while today with my daughter, and I saw somebody over there.
What if it gets wet?
It's hot, I'm sweating. Kids are shooting water guns everywhere. Who needs it?
Yeah.
CJ, thanks for joining me tonight. You know,
Oh, thank you.
it was just a little over 3 years ago, May 24th, 2020, to be exact, that
Wow.
you joined me and Smitty joined me. Smitty was late, though.
Reluctantly.
And by the way,
you might
shout
add.
out to Smitty. He's a little under the weather tonight, so he can't join us tonight.
Yeah.
First time ever, and it was called Squatch Talk, and it was for the world famous Corn Wing Con. Shout out to Wolf Cop and our friends Kilted Creature and all the folks over at Corn Wing Con. We really miss those folks, and man, what a blast with Squatch Talk. Do you remember that?
Oh, very well. Yes. I remember it very well. I was kind of terrified, first of all, and certainly hesitant to do anything with you. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, who can blame you?
Hesitant to do a show about Sasquatch. I knew nothing of Sasquatch Bigfoot lore at all. And you asked me to be the moderator and come with tons of questions. And I literally messaged every friend and family member that I had and said, I need questions about Bigfoot. And we got some really interesting ones. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, your mother, as a matter of fact, asked one of my favorite questions. Are Bigfoot affected by COVID?
Yeah. That was a good
One
one.
of my favorites. I had fun answering that one. And we don't,
Yeah.
we're not sure, but we sure hope they're okay. with-
Well, and one thing that I didn't even know at the time was I remember asking, like, is it one Bigfoot? Is it just one creature? Are there multiple Bigfoots? Do we call them Bigfoots, big feet? Like, I really had no idea at the time, and now I feel much more well versed in Bigfoot knowledge.
Well, you're certainly much more well-versed in general cryptid knowledge and general paranormal knowledge, not to mention astrophysics, right? So
Yes.
here we are over 3 years later. And a lot of stuff has happened. A lot of stuff has changed. We're not Squatch Talk
Mm-hmm.
anymore, but we are All Things Unexplained. And
Yes.
CJ, would you like to hear a little rundown of some of the things that have happened in the last 3 years?
Let's do it.
All right.
Give me the
So
rundown.
since we went on there for the first time with Squatch Talk, May 24, 2020, we have put out over 270 episodes
It's incredible.
of All Things Unexplained. We now have a new episode every Monday. We were on Fridays, but we just switched to Mondays. New episode every Monday. We have put out a new episode, CJ, for at least 52 weeks in a row.
Well, that's thanks to you. All praises to Tim. You do it all.
Well, thanks.
Produce, edit, everything. I just show up when you tell
Well,
me
I
to
appreciate
and
that.
talk.
But this is a team effort, of course. We now have a website. Squatch Talk did not have a website, of course. We have a website now. Look at us, BigfootUFO.com. That'll get you to our website. Of course, I already did have a website. That was my author website, squatching.com. Or maybe I didn't. I don't even remember now.
Oh, I think you did.
Okay, well, if you
Yeah.
go to squatching.com, you can see my books. You can see my Audible books. You can read my articles and different posts there. We have our own YouTube channel,
Yeah. YouTube stars. Here we are.
and that's at All Things Unexplained Podcast. And we're going to preview something from our YouTube channel tonight. We have our own Facebook page now. We have our own Instagram page. Not only that, but groundbreaking, CJ has her own social media influencer page.
Oh, I mean,
And there it is.
I'm
at
doing my
the
best.
uni-
Yes.
At the under dash, what is that called again?
Underscore.
I don't know where I got under dash from because my brain was telling me to say underdog. The underdog, unexplained underdog, CJ. Because I love that cartoon Underdog. You probably didn't watch Underdog.
Oh, I maybe watched a little bit of it growing up, but not much.
Well, it was great. And Dr. Mounts,
Yeah.
my author persona, has
Nobody's
an
ever going to
Instagram now.
find me on Instagram after that. It's at the underscore unexplained underscore CJ. I don't know why Instagram does that, where you have to have those like spaces in between. But that's it. I'm doing my best. I definitely drug my feet on creating a public persona profile. And now it's out there for the world. So come on, world. Come follow me.
You had a post tonight. And by the way, we apologize. We're having a few technical difficulties tonight. So you may notice a little bit of glitching or freezing.
Well, that feels like a throwback to the early days.
Well, more than you know, because I happen to be checking out some classic Coast to Coast AM this afternoon. And in one of the episodes with Art Bell, this fella calls in from Area 51, right? Now, he's purported to be in Area 51. And dude is terrified, right? Like you can hear it in his voice. And he's telling about these extraterrestrials that we've got at Area 51 and that we don't know what their motivations are, but they have infiltrated us. Their motivations are not benign. Let's put it that way. And the dude sounds terrified. And Coast to Coast AM goes off the air. Like, boom. Shuts their systems down. Now, I want to give Art Bell some credit here. I don't know how much of that was, gamesmanship or producer effects or what, because they had some really tense situations on that show. But who knows? Who cares? Dude from Area 51, show goes down. So, if somebody knew what we were talking about tonight, it could explain the technical difficulties, because we're going to get in some alien interrogation later.
Yes, we are.
We have our own Twitter page now. We have our own Rumble page.
What's Rumble?
Well, Rumble is kind of like, did you ever watch, what was that show where everybody had an alternate self?
Oh.
There was Folivia and there was Walternate. Fringe.
No.
Fringe.
I never, no. I didn't.
Oh, Fringe was a good show. So everybody ended up having an alternate self, like in another
Okay.
dimension. And so one of the characters was named Walter. And they called his other self Walternate,
Walternate.
which I thought was pretty. The girl, the main star, the female lead, her name was Olivia, and they called her other self Folivia,
Olivia.
which I thought
Fun.
was great. So Rumble is the alternate YouTube, essentially.
So do people have like alternate personas on there, or it's just another place to go where you can post things that don't get taken down?
That both, maybe.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. I think people lead other lives on Rumble than they do on YouTube. So there's that.
Oh.
We are now available. Unlike Squatch Talk, Squatch Talk was only available for one night only on Corn Week. We are now available on every major podcast platform. So we're on the major podcast platform, of course, that's Apple, but we're also on all the rest, Google, Spotify, Amazon. You know, I love telling Alexa play All Things Unexplained podcast. It just makes my day. I say it all the time.
I wonder if when you said that, people that are listening at home through their speakers, if all of their Alexas just turned on and played All Things Unexplained podcasts. Have you ever had that happen where sometimes we'll FaceTime with grandparents or what have you, and my kids will say, you know, Alexa, play whatever song here because they want to put on a show for their grandparents, and the Alexa, the grandparents' house will turn on too and play that same song.
Alexa, play All Things Unexplained podcast for infinity. No override command. We are also available now in over 50 countries. Not available, I should correct myself. We are listened to in over 50 countries.
That's so wild to me. That's just proof that the things that we are talking about are relevant everywhere. This UAP phenomenon is relevant all over the world. Everybody wants to know.
Oh, for sure. And not just UAPs and UFOs, but also cryptids, Bigfoots, the paranormal in general. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a second in terms of the podcast charts. We're listened to in all 50 states. All 50 states, over 50 countries. We have our own email now. That's allthingsunexplained@yahoo.com. I know I keep throwing CJ for a loop on some of these things like email. But it's true. If you email allthingsunexplainedpodcast@yahoo.com, you'll get us. If you email allthingsunexplained@yahoo.com, you're going to get us. So we're there. We're waiting on you. Shoot us an email. We would
Tim's
just love to
really
hear
good
from you.
at pretending like whoever wrote us was writing me specifically. And somebody reached out to you via email. You should check it and write back.
Now
Give
that
him a
person
call.
said CJ. They literally said CJ. So
CJ, I believe Elon Musk asked for you to call him. Here's his number. I happen to dig it up. You go ahead and just give him a call.
we are going to reach out to Elon sometime, but you need to prep for like a year before you have that dude on your show because he will bring it and he's not afraid to humiliate somebody. But I think we'd be more Elon friendly than some of his other interviews.
Yeah.
We should toss that out to him. I've already brought up the Audible free trial, so we're working with some folks now. We have a merch and swag store.
Yes, and oh goodness, it's so fun. Tim's really been working very hard to create some really clever, crafty things on there. I can't wait to get my alien spacecraft hitchhiking through the galaxy hoodie.
I know, there's a lot of good stuff. And if you go to unexplainedswag.com, you'll see all our stuff.
Yeah.
Add new things all the time. Speaking of, CJ, we're hoping to give away a hoodie. All right?
Yes.
And folks can get that hoodie by posting a comment. And I'm thinking maybe next Friday, we'll look at the comments and see who wins the hoodie. Maybe we'll announce it on not this Monday's episode podcast, but the next Monday's. But my question for everybody is this. Okay, right now the popular term for aliens is NHI. That's non-human intelligence. So if you want to win a hoodie, here's what we want to know. Instead, I'm putting this in the chat, in the comments on YouTube and Facebook. You can respond either place is acceptable. Instead of NHI, what acronym would you use for alien?
Oh, that's fun.
And what does it stand for?
Okay.
So I hear some people are getting tired of NHI because technically non-human intelligence can cover a lot of territory. It can cover plants, for example. Dolphins.
They're pretty intelligent.
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, it could be dolphins piloting the UFOs. It could be Triffids. I remember in the classic sci-fi movie Day of the Triffids.
Triffids?
Yeah, they were kind of plants, if I remember correctly. Intelligent plants. Think Venus flytraps from the future.
Okay.
That sort of thing. Not a pleasant experience. So you can get your own All Things Unexplained merchandise at unexplainedswag.com.
Sounds a little bit like Killer Kudzu, like that book you narrated so well.
Oh, yeah. So in Killer Kudzu, they took kudzu and crossed it with Venus flytraps and some other not such good ideas. So the thing about it is, in Killer Kudzu, they thought so hard about how to do it, they never stopped to think if they should.
Oh, that's a good
Stolen from Jurassic Park, sorry.
one.
Shout out to Jurassic Park. So we also have Venmo now. You know, it takes a lot to make a podcast happen. We want to give a shout out to friend of the show, Ryan Sprague, host of Somewhere in the Skies podcast, and the Alien Dude on Ancient Aliens, because for whatever reason, YouTube just demonetized Ryan Sprague.
I guess they... Never mind.
I think it's because on our show, he broke an exclusive, you know, from Squatch Talk to breaking alien exclusives. And he broke an exclusive that folks from Dead Horse, Alaska revealed there is wreckage out here. And Ryan Sprague and friends, you know, we're still waiting for our invitation, are going to Dead Horse. And they're going to collect or look for whatever it is. And by the way, I spoke to my friend of the show, adventurer Dane Beck, and you know, he used to work commercial fishing charters.
Fishing, right?
Yep, up down the West Coast, or they would launch out of there. And he's been to Dead Horse, Alaska.
Really?
And it's actually not that far out of Anchorage, which people think of Anchorage as, you know, kind of a hub. But he's like, still, Tim, you get outside of Anchorage, you're talking pretty barren landscape out there. Nothingsville. Barren landscape, harsh environment, right? So shout out to Ryan Sprague. They've demonetized him, but it takes a lot to make a podcast happen, you know, and he said it too. He said it real good. You know, you've got to have a host for the podcast. You've got to have all this software. You got to have all this hardware. And it just takes a lot.
And time. My goodness, the time that you put into it.
It takes
really
so much.
Incredible.
It's become all consuming.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, all consuming. I had a headache this past week. I basically didn't leave the front of the screen for like the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The podcast stuff has been booming so much, and I'm thankful for that. But one way, you have several ways you can help us out. One way is the merch store, unexplainedswag.com. That'll actually take you to Amazon, and so everybody now can shop on Amazon real easy. But you can also help us out on Venmo at Bigfoot UFO. That's Venmo, Bigfoot UFO. That's a real easy way. Or PayPal. We have PayPal. We're ATU Podcast. We're also on Cameo. So if you want CJ to wish you a happy birthday.
I guess I've got to make that video still.
Yeah, you do.
It's a good
I
reminder.
think it's like $3. $3 and CJ.
$3. That's cheap.
Can wish you a happy It is cheap. You tell me we're going to get a cheaper birthday gift than that.
I'll even sing it. I'll sing it.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can try one now.
Happy birthday to you. That's all you're gonna get for now.
No problem. And by the way, you do not have to memorize all these links, because since Squatch Talk, All Things Unexplained is in a lot of places. And one way you can easily find all those places is go to our Linktree, linktree.com/ATU podcast. Is scrolling across the bottom of the screen now. So if you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, you'll see it there. And if you're listening on one of the major podcast platforms, it's linktree.com/ATU podcast. ATU for All Things Unexplained. ATU podcast. There you'll find all of our links, or as I like to say on the post, you'll probably find all our links, because it's always a work in progress. Now, CJ, earlier I mentioned since Squatch Talk over 3 years ago, we have hit every major podcast platform. Over 50 countries we're listened to. We're listened to in all 50 states. And not only that, but we just, for the first time this past week, charted in 2 countries that we've never been on the podcast charts before. So on the Apple Podcast Science charts, this past week, we're shooting up them in Great Britain in Sweden. Shout out to
Yeah.
you, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and Sweden. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
you.
All great
We all-
places.
Yeah, so also, it's been a while back. It might have been 2 years ago. But CJ made a comment on the air one night. She basically said something like, because we were talking about the podcast charts, and oh man, it'd be great if we could get on the charts. And we just had to relate it to somebody that we knew, maybe from our childhood or whatever. And CJ said, oh, Bill Nye, Science Guy, we're coming for you.
Well, no, so he was like number 2 on the chart. That's why I said that.
Right,
He was
there you
number
go.
2 yeah, and I was like, Bill Nye, we're coming for you.
Well, guess what, CJ? This past week on the Apple Podcast Science charts, United States of America, God bless the USA, America, we, All Things Unexplained, came within 1 spot of Bill Nye.
Oh, man.
We did it.
Gotcha, sucker.
And I've been calling him out too, because he's on Twitter, he's on Instagram, he's on Facebook, he's on YouTube. I've been calling him out, saying, "Hey, look, one behind now, one behind. We're not Squatch Talk anymore. You can acknowledge us. We're just one behind you."
I really do like that name, Squatch Talk, though. That was clever.
Oh yeah, I liked it. Maybe we'll have some Squatch Talk special editions.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good idea. Another thing is, so talk about synchronicity, and I brought this up on our social medias. I loved finding Bigfoot. People know me. I write Bigfoot-themed children's books. You can check them out at squatching.com. I love Bigfoot. I really enjoyed the television show Finding Bigfoot, right? Well, it just so happened that this past week, we were also within 1 slot of Bigfoot and Beyond with Cliff and Bobo. Now, here's where some more synchronicity comes in. And by the way, Cliff and Bobo were 2 of the stars of Finding Bigfoot, right?
Thank you for
And
clarifying.
yeah, it just so happens in October, we welcome Matt Pruitt, who produces and edits the Bigfoot and Beyond podcast. With Cliff Bobo, we welcome Matt Pruitt to All Things Unexplained, and he's the author of Phenomenal Sasquatch. And he's going to be joining us.
So I guess we shouldn't be too braggadocious about being within 1 spot of them.
It got his
We'll
attention.
be kind.
I'll put it that way. It got his attention. So Matt Pruitt coming on with us, plus a lot of other folks coming on with us here real soon. I think I should just go over some of them now. Some of the ones that we can talk about here. So also joining us real soon, August 23rd, psychic investigator and paranormal researcher John Russell. I'm looking forward to that one. I love some
that'll be cool.
paranormal true crime.
Yeah, I like that.
We've done we've had one previous guest on with paranormal crime, kind of the Fox Mulder of the Asheville, North Carolina Police Department.
Oh, yes.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah, he was great. Was it paranormal crime, though? I don't remember being paranormal. I thought it was just true crime.
It was both. But he got some spooky calls because you may have pushed this or suppressed it. But he told us a story about how he would get calls all the time to this particular hotel, right? And it would be from folks reporting somebody jumping off to their death. But the police basically knew when they got there would be no body because folks would see this happen, right? And they would call 911.
Right. I did push that back into the depths of my brain. That's not who I was thinking about. Actually, I was thinking about the author who used to be a detective.
Yes,
came
same
on our
person.
show. No, different person.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. The guy that you were thinking about was an entirely different show. And I'm trying to find,
Because we also had another guy from Asheville that came on and talked to us about Helen's Bridge.
No, that's the same guy.
No, different guy. We'll cover that in a second. But psychic investigator, paranormal researcher John Russell joins us this month. Also at the end of the month, I'm super excited to welcome artist, singer, Suzanne McDermott. Now get this, her two biggest hits could not be more timely. They are the Roswell incident and the Three Dreams of J. Robert Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
And of course, two of the biggest things in the news right now, Roswell and Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Just Oppenheimer #1 at the box office. Not going to invite a Barbie person onto the show, though. Sorry. But I said to myself, whoever wrote 2 songs about Roswell and Oppenheimer, we need to talk to this person. So I can't wait to find out what's going on with
Yeah.
Suzanne McDermott. Also
Hey, the
coming up.
person I was thinking of, sorry, real quick, was Detective Scott Lunsford.
Yes.
Remember, he had all of those unsolved, unusual murder cases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but the first time I was talking to him, I was telling him I had made the state tennis tournament. It was in Asheville.
Right.
I told him about the house we were staying in. It's like, oh
Yes.
yeah, I found a hand in that area one time.
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
a hand.
Just
I don't think they ever connected it to anybody. Anybody never connected. So, joining us in November is the Michael Jordan of birding, Noah Stricker.
Yes, we've got to get Noah on here.
Yeah, Noah's been on some really amazing media, and we can't wait to have him. And like I said, in October, Matt Pruitt joins us, author of the phenomenal Sasquatch book and producer and editor of Bigfoot and Beyond with Cliff and Bobo, the Bigfoot and Beyond podcast. We want to give a shout out real quick to a friend of the show, Mr. Tracy. By the way, he sent CJ and I a couple of shirts here.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you can see them,
Okay.
but I'm going to hold up a special sample he sent us of Smoky Mountain Squatch Shine. We're hoping to do a little commercial about this soon in our tasting. 90 proof, though.
Yikes.
Not sure how many tastes we're going to be getting in, but
I don't know how many you need, really.
I don't know either. But Mr. Tracy,
What's
thank
great
you
about it, right?
so much for the Smoky Mountain Squatch Shine.
And what a cool logo he has. I love that logo so much. I really like this shirt a ton, actually.
Yeah, me too.
Fits well.
It's
Comfy.
great. So thanks, Mr. Tracy. And speaking of our previous guest, wow, we couldn't even fathom when we were Squatch Talk having a guest on
No.
the show, but let's just mention just a few
Yeah.
of the folks that we've had on. Gary Arnold, EVP pioneer, that's electronic voice phenomenon. Remember, Gary Arnold had the shocking revelation that some of the voices he heard were actually aliens, and that they were not all benevolent either, by the way.
He was talking to us from his university where he teaches
Yes.
on his lunch break.
Wild stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Friend of the show, Sean Alston of the Sean Alston Band. And we're
That was fun.
Yeah, he was great. Remember, he led us in one of my favorite skits ever. What was it? What's the
ABC.
North Pole song?
Yeah.
The North Pole song. What starts with A at the North Pole?
Yeah.
What starts with B at the North Pole? We had Eric Bard from Skinwalker Ranch
The best.
on the show. Do you think
Eric Bard is the best.
he really is amazing? Could you imagine us having somebody like Eric Bard on when we first started with Squatch
No.
Talk?
Mm-mm.
No, it's true.
No way.
Sorry, Corn Wing Con. We love Corn Wing Con. But we definitely didn't imagine going to somebody like Eric Bard. And from Eric Bard to Paul Beebon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Star
Emmy
of-
award-winning
Yes.
journalist.
Talk about some pressure
Yeah,
interviewing
he
him.
was fantastic.
Y'all didn't see this, but before we came on air, he interviewed us.
He did. Yeah.
Like, it was wild. But he's,
Tell me
of
about
course, the
yourselves.
star
Are
of
you
the new...
writers, producers? What do you do?
Yeah.
We were like, we are all of the above, Paul.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you, Paul. And, of course, he's the star now of Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Dane
What a
Beck,
great show.
adventure, outdoorsman, man of many tales,
Man, Dane had some of the best stories.
including the fact that his mom got hit on by John Lithgow from Harry and the Hendersons. I think it was John Lithgow.
Hmm.
You don't remember that one?
I remember him saying something along those lines.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, we were talking about Harry and Henderson. Like, yeah, let me tell y'all Harry and the Henderson story. John Lithgow, the dad, tried to pick
Yes.
my mom up. I don't mean like physically, like a Bigfoot. I mean like see what kind of places they got around this Montana one-horse town. Friend of the show, Arthur Blake Best. He's also a musician
Good guy.
and a
Yeah.
cryptozoologist. Great guy. Such a good, talented speaker, talented writer, talented musician. He also wrote the theme song, if we ever do the Smoky Mountain Squash
Oh,
Shine
yeah, we
commercial.
got our song. Yes. You mean when we do the commercial?
Remember the Mr. Billy, our very first All
Oh.
Things Unexplained?
I love Mr. Billy. I wish that I could call
Episode.
him. I don't think that he like listens to podcasts, so he probably never even heard his own story shared in
We-
podcast form.
We can call him, and we should call him. And by the way, let's see. Listener Trent Leonard's chiming in. Can we specify what the message is and to whom?
He's talking about our cameo message.
Yes, indeed, you can. But we have
My answer is no. You cannot, Trent. Not you.
but we do reserve the right to refuse any customers. Sorry, you better behave, or the price goes up astronomically. I will say there is a sliding
Yeah, I
scale
mean, we can all be bought. Let's be honest.
on the request. So, but you do request, you can get, and we'll tell Smitty you were asking about him. Smitty can sing Trent happy birthday. So, Mr. Billy, though, he was so amazing. He was the first guest of All Things Unexplained.
He
was-
kind of changed my life.
Yeah, he did. Mine too,
Yeah.
to be honest. How did he change yours, CJ?
I think that when I started this show, I was a total skeptic in everything, all of it, UFOs, Bigfoots, ghosts, what have you. And so we had this guy, Mr. Billy from Mississippi, and I thought, oh boy, here we go. We're going to get this local yokel. And man, he was great. He was philosophical, honest, real, great conversation, great storyteller. Felt like I was talking to my grandfather, and I just believed every single word he said. It was really incredible. So it was the first time for me that I thought, okay, maybe there's something to all of these UFO stories that I've heard before. And then that, from there launched us into the next realm, because then I had all kinds of people reaching out to me, friends of mine that were asking, do you really do a podcast on UFOs? I was a little nervous to say yes, but I've confidently said yes now. And all those people shared with me their own UFO stories. So it became a very real thing for me after Mr. Billy.
Well, you know what Mr. Billy changed for me is he really brought home the fact that the UFO phenomenon and the paranormal phenomenon in general is truly a rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there, shout out to fellow podcaster, the UFO Rabbit Hole, who we had some synchronicity with in
that's
our
right.
episode with Ryan Sprague. But it really, and people specifically call the UFO phenomenon a rabbit hole, and it is because by the time we went on the air with Mr. Billy, who witnessed firsthand one of the greatest UFO incidents of all time, which in light of recent events, I think all these situations should be re-examined. And by the time we went on the air, I had volumes of research that would never end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this was just one specific case and one specific person, and it just never ended. And that changed my life too, and I'll never forget it. And it continues to be the case. As a matter of fact, things we look into now still reconnect back to Mr. Billy. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the first time that I had ever heard some names like Dr. Hynek. I had never heard that name before. And
Oh,
now
gotcha.
I hear it all the time.
Yes. And of course, it was with talking to Mr. Billy, we had several unexpected things happen. And one of them, which was not in the news in any way whatsoever about this incident, Mr. Billy had a phone call from J. Allen Hynek, which caught us really by surprise. And Dr. Hynek revealed some very intriguing information to Mr. Billy about how these crafts navigate around the globe and how they move themselves, how they harness the power of gravity, for example. And of course, this is really big in the news now.
Right.
How these craft are moving, how are they capable of doing the things that they're doing. CJ, we were so honored to have Cheryl and Orville Murphy
Oh, man.
from Board Camp Crystal Mine with us
Yes.
more than once.
And talk about a crazy way that all came to be. Maybe the only time I've ever been on the internet.
Yes. Only time you ever been on the internet.
So there had been that flight where the pilot was recorded saying that they had seen something go very close to their plane. And I started doing some digging about that particular flight. And in a chat comment section, Cheryl had messaged on a website, I have pictures of something out of my airplane if you would like them. And I wrote her, we've got a podcast. We would love to see them. She sent them to us. And we had to talk to her about what she saw, because that one really shook me for so many reasons. Number one, what you see out of the window is clearly very close to her plane. We all determined it looked like missiles of some sort, which is terrifying when you think about the fact that she was on a commercial flight. Number two, nobody cared. We were shocked by this revelation, posting it all over the place, trying to get anyone's attention about what happened. No one cared. It was like, who are the Kardashians dating now? That's all anybody cared about. That was really scary for me, that nobody cared about these missiles right outside of this woman's window on a plane.
Oh, yeah, and we reached out to several experts, and the best they could come up with was, this could be a hypersonic missile.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and how scary can you get? But like you said, nobody cared. But Orville and Cheryl were a great example of the rabbit hole I was talking about earlier, because they reached out to us about, their pictures of a potential hypersonic missile or an unknown situation, anomalous situation outside the airplane that they managed to capture. It emerged soon after that. Orville and Cheryl Murphy, they operate Board Camp Crystal Mine in Arkansas. They've been on one of the best episodes of Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates ever, where Josh Gates was investigating a UFO encounter at Board Camp Crystal Mine, one that literally left physical evidence.
Mm-hmm.
That, by the way, they have Bigfoots at Board Camp Crystal Mine. They have Bigfoot encounters. By the way, they have crystals, of course, and they have crystals that teleport. They have teleportation situations.
Yeah.
At Board Camp Crystal Mine, which, by the way, is in the news.
Right. And if you were to hear all of those things that you just said, right? And if you had been me 3 years ago, you might go, okay, sure they do. But then to meet Cheryl and Orville Murphy, you can't not believe them. They are so honest and pure-hearted and kind. And again, this philosophical thing, they just clearly see the universe for more than what most people see it for.
No, that's right. They were amazing, and they still have an open invitation for
I know, we gotta go.
us to go out there.
3-year anniversary retreat
Let's do
for
it.
All Things Unexplained.
We were pleased to welcome former CIA operative Andrew Bustamante to All Things Unexplained, current star also of Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Boy, he was great.
He was fun. What a fun guy.
He still would not reveal if the CIA actually wrote Wind of Change
you're
by
right.
Scorpions.
He did not answer your question.
Lucy Castle, Palladian Starseed, Tic Tac UFO Witness.
Mm-hmm. Man, Palladian starseeds, they are where it's at.
The thing is, her episode was one of the wildest episodes we've ever done, because we got blew up. Like, it shut the internet down. How many people were on that show with us from all across the UK? He's talking about the UK and across America too. But Palladian Starseeds, and I'd actually like to revisit that, because she was a Tic Tac UFO witness. And I tell you what, there's breaking news about Tic Tac UFOs every day, almost on the daily now. And it just gives new validation to civilian accounts like Lucy Castle. Friend of the show, Becky Cook, author of the Bigfoot Lives in Idaho
Yeah,
series.
she's so great.
So amazing. Also one of the tallest women with some of the biggest feet in the world.
Yeah, in the world.
She's incredible. We had the Impressive Cheryl Costone with us, author of the UFO Sightings Desk Reference.
Impressive indeed.
Yes.
She has put together a whole range of information on UFO sightings.
Volumes and volumes of data. And I think it's gotten Cheryl some unwanted attention, actually, because folks like Arrow and others, they've kind of taken notice of that, right? Like they've not been too keen on releasing data, on releasing
Right.
specifics. We had who we call Tanya Doe on the show,
Yes.
witness of a giant UFO over Queens, New York.
Friend of mine.
And by the way, it sounds real crazy, right? That you saw a giant UFO over Queens, New York, until a former Navy pilot testifies before the House Oversight Committee about a giant rectangular prism UFO the size of a
football field.
Football field. That's right.
Yeah.
Now, I promise you, I feel like if you saw a craft the size of a football field over Queens and you were close enough to it, you would say this is a giant UFO.
Yeah. So what was really interesting about the Tanya episode in terms of our history as a show is that we had two very different takes on how to approach her story, if you recall. And after we were
Yes.
done interviewing her, I called you and I was like, what did you just do? Like, why were you so intense with her? Your questioning was just so intense. And she got all nervous and was pushing back. And I'm like, she was wanting to tell her story and you scared her. And so you took yourself out of the entire interview that you posted later on. But what I have found interesting is that so many people have told us how easy we are to talk to. And they tell us so much and they open up to us and they enjoy coming on our show. And I think that was a crossroads in our podcast where we were sort of deciding who we were going to be, how we were going to do this. And I know you wanted to ask those really hard-hitting questions, but she instantly shut down when you did. And she felt a little bit more comfortable with some of the softer, if you lean in like you believe the person. I remember that being a big turning point in our podcast. I'm not sure you were very happy with me, but you listened, so
it needed to be said. But the thing is, I'll admit, like this is an intelligent, professional person who did not want to necessarily tell their story. They were nervous about it, and it carries a lot of weight. Not only that, but she's not the only one that saw it.
Right.
She was with her friend that saw it, and here we are. We have the best witnesses you could ever hope for describing giant UFOs over military bases. Suddenly, a giant UFO over Queens doesn't sound
right
like such a stretch. We also had, were these next two, and I'm going to work through these a little quicker, were these next two quite the bundle of energy to handle. Jonathan Fink, author of Baseball Gods Are Real, and Connor Flynn, cryptozoology researcher, author, budding actor. I mean, he doesn't know. Connor Flynn, Jonathan Fink.
Yeah.
I almost gave him a shout out to join us tonight, but we did not have 8 hours on our hand. They can really get after it.
Good people. But yeah, I mean, whatever they are drinking to get their energy. Though I'm not sure Connor was drinking when he was on our show. I think he was doing something else.
I think I know what they might have been drinking. A little bit of some Smoky Mountain Squash time. But anyway, I'm probably not going to get to all our former guests, but I'm going to run through some more here. Chrissy Heron, author of Headaches and Hauntings. Remember her? Oh, I did that one by myself.
Yeah, you did that one by yourself. I was sad to miss that one.
And what was so great was when she got into this story about meeting, what's his name? Gerard Butler. She was like, I'm not saying nothing happened, but something might have happened. I thought that was pretty funny. I did another one by myself, the International Cryptozoology Museum of Portland, Maine.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty fun. Speaking of CJ, we still have to go to the Bigfoot Museum in North Carolina,
local backyard,
up the road. Dr. Kwani Lapsaritas, which, by the way, we still have to push his episodes out on podcast platforms. Psychic Interdimensional Bigfoot expert. Two of our favorites just happen to be astrophysicists, Dr. Charles Liu and Avi Loeb.
Yes. two very different people.
Very different. It's
But
interesting,
boy.
and I'm glad you said that. It's interesting. One, they're basically polar opposites, right?
Mm-hmm.
But two of the most brilliant minds on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one is on the hunt for extraterrestrials.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Lou is just, I feel like he's a friend. He's so kind. Just a kind. We've had a lot of fun with Dr. Lou on this show.
Yeah, we have.
He is a good sport. That's for sure.
Him and his whole team from the Luniverse podcast.
Yes, his whole team. That's right. They all came on. That was great. And
We
then
had to-
Dr. Loeb. I mean, what a
Oh,
gift to
yeah.
have him on our show.
And he's been on
3
multiple
times.
times. 3 times, yes.
3 times.
Can you believe that?
Loeb on.
From
Yeah.
Squatch Talk to Avi Loeb on with us 3 times.
Yeah.
Go figure. But you mentioned Detective Scott Lunsford, Strange and Unusual Cases,
Mm-hmm.
Tom Medlin, Pico Balloon expert,
Yeah.
our dear friend, and current volleyball enemy, Mr. J, our military consultant, Christopher O'Brien, cattle mutilation expert,
Oh, yeah.
one of
that
your
was a good one.
one of your favorites, CJ, Oracle
Mhm.
Oriah, Palladian, also
Yes.
Palladian Starseed, alien abductee, and one of a rare breed, alien. If you get abducted, you're an abductee. If you get surgery done on you, what are you? Patient?
I guess so.
Alien
Yeah.
surgical patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was another turning point in our show because I did not want to do this interview
I remember that.
at all. I pretty much begged you not to do this interview. I said, if we have an alien abductee who's had a spinal cord replacement surgery from aliens on our show, we're going to lose all validation. And you said, no, we've got to. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be such a good show. Even if it's so way out there, it's gonna be a great show. Oracle Araya was phenomenal. She is classy, number one. She's beautiful. She radiates positive energy. I believed every word she said. So that was a big turning point for me because you talked me into that one. And from there, I think I've been a little bit more receptive to all of your ideas.
Good. You learned a valuable lesson that day.
Yeah.
And that was that. Listen to me. No, that was, folks have stories to tell, and sometimes they just need a platform for telling them. And it's not up to us to judge or say whether this really happened or whether they're telling the truth or what people should make of it. But it is up to us. I think now we've come to this place to realize to provide a platform for those stories to be told.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? If David Fravor and Ryan Graves and the UFO whistleblower can have a platform before Congress, and folks can have a platform to tell their stories too. Regular civilians.
So important.
Robert Bob Salas. He's been a name in ufology for a very long time.
Yes.
One of the most famous names in all of ufology, and we've had him on with us to tell his story. And boy, he had some shocking revelations too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, the one we were just talking about, I said, she's one of a rare breed of alien surgical patients. Turns out so is Robert Bob Salas.
Yeah, that was a wild story. And that we stumbled upon that information. I mean, he was going through, oh yes, in book number 2, I have stories that I collected about other people's UFO encounters and my own alien abduction and other people's alien abductions. Blah, 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 blah. But what did you just say? Can we go back to that?
Yes.
And that story was wild and scary. I lost a lot of sleep actually after that interview.
It was scary. He also revealed his belief in an entity, a group, an organization that has gained much more validation since the UFO hearing last week, July 26th. Okay, he mentioned this shadowy organization that he refers to as the UFO cabal.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, if you watch the UFO hearing, July 26th, the historic event before the House Oversight Committee, David Grush, Fravor, and Ryan Graves, then you came with this takeaway that, you know what, there might actually be a freaking UFO cabal. because that's one of the only ways to explain it.
Right.
If they are all telling the truth, and if everything they said happened and happened in the way that they believe it to be the case, then you don't really get there without the presence of something like a UFO cabal.
Yeah.
So pretty shocking stuff there. We had Chrissy Smith on,
Yeah.
personal friend
She
of
had some
mine.
really, really interesting ideas too on what's going on.
Oh, yes. And she may be coming back on with us with the Great Divine Sovereign Messenger. She's from
Oh,
Patriot
yeah.
Muscle Health. That's right. And one of our favorites too, Donna Campbell Smith,
Mm-hmm.
award-winning author of the Bigfoot fiction novel My Neighbors from the Woods. And that book was terrific. I loved it. We had the wonderful director of the Travis Walton story, the true story, Travis Walton, Jennifer Stein, and Travis Walton himself on with us.
Yes.
We had the Norwegian Irish pop band, Todd and
Gosh,
Karen.
that was fun.
It was fun. They taught me a lot. Like, I had no idea, for example, that the guy that sang, I Can Feel It Coming in the Night, Phil Collins. Like, Phil Collins is much different overseas than what we know in America, right?
Oh, I don't remember that.
But they were great. We only had Todd on, though.
Right, just
Karen
Todd.
couldn't make it. We
Yeah.
did an episode with our friends from the Twisted Teachers
Yeah,
podcast.
gosh. That one gave me the sweats.
That one got pretty R-rated and pretty wild.
Holy smokes.
And of
Yeah,
course,
that
we
one
had
really.
the superintendent of Skinwalker Ranch with us, Thomas Winterton.
Yeah, Thomas is great.
Thomas is so great. And so I think that a lot of stuff has happened, and we've kind of come a long way these last 3 years, CJ.
Yes, we have. I feel like we missed some people on this list, though.
Yeah, we probably did. Anybody that you can think of off the top of your head?
Well, certainly the person that told us the ghost stories out of Asheville wasn't listed.
Oh, yeah, he's not on there. Apologies to him. And I know there are others, but that just goes to show you we're over 200 episodes now. There's been a lot of people. We've covered a lot of topics.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Like.
Share. Follow.
All things unexplained.
Swag and much more at linktree.com/ATU podcast. BigfootUFO.com.
So some of that I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.